F up the interview. My name is Bridget Azocar. I'm a co-founder and chief operating officer here at HubSearch, and I'll be quarterbacking the conversation today.
Awesome. Thanks, Bridge. My name is Ken Arms, recruiting manager over at HubSearch, and I'll be talking more so on the candidate side, do's and don'ts. And surely at the end of this, you will not F up the interview. I promise you that.
All right, and then I'm Liz Hasty. I'm a client success manager here at HubSearch as well, and I'm going to be talking to you from the client-customer perspective.
Okay, so we know interviews. So HubSearch is at the center of the HubSpot talent ecosystem. We enable companies to hire HubSpot experts and HubSpot experts to find their dream jobs. In 2023, we have prepared candidates and interview teams for over 800 interviews. And also in 2023, we've helped companies hire 57 candidates so far this year. So why getting the interview right matters? So for employers, you drive great employer brand and reputation, better skill and culture fit, and ultimately then better retention. For employees, you'll get more offers and land your dream job, better evaluate opportunities so you choose the right one, and start a new job having set expectations during the interview process. So Ken, can you talk to me about the 3 biggest mistakes you have seen candidates make during the interviews?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Bridge. So definitely. These are mistakes that I see all the time, right? And these are the 3 biggest ones, right? So the first one is just lack of preparation. This is definitely the biggest one. If you don't know the job you're interviewing for, if you don't know the company, right, that can not only show that you're not interested, but it can also show that, you may not be able to answer questions correctly, right? So you want to make sure you come prepared, and foreshadowing a little bit, I'll be talking about how to prepare and what to do later on in this. Number 2 is not asking questions. Right? Not asking questions is huge. That can also show you're not committed, right? And also it can show the employer, right? Not only do you not get your questions answered, but it also can show the employer you're interviewing with that, this person's not interested, right? They didn't prepare at all. And the last thing is just not having a negative attitude, right? I mean, employers, they're gonna challenge you, right? They want you to highlight your wins. It's a time for you to brag on a time that you did face a challenge and what you did to overcome that. You can always putting a positive twist on everything is huge, right? And having a negative, connotation and just an overall negative demeanor can be a huge roadblock and a huge mistake. So, Bridge, those are the 3 things that I see biggest mistakes on the candidate side.
Thanks for sharing those.
Not a problem.
Liz, what about on the client side? What are the 3 biggest mistakes you've seen clients make?
Yeah, so I really love this question because I feel like a lot of people think that companies can't mess up the interview. I mean, they're the ones who are interviewing and trying to hire someone. So definitely the 3 biggest things that I see. The first one is being disengaged, being on your phone, packing suitcases, doing dishes while you're on a call. Yes, we have seen these things before. We really have. So definitely, candidates are taking time out of their day to talk to you as well. They're interviewing you as much as you are them. So give them the time of day. The second one is showing up late and then rushing the interview. Again, candidates are taking time out of their day to interview you as well. So be prompt, be on time. You have that same expectations for candidates. Hold yourself to that same standard. And then the third one is definitely taking too long to give candidates feedback on their interview and then losing them to another offer.
So Liz, I'm a client. I love to give you fast feedback, but I have several interviews in the same day, and I have a busy day with meetings. Can you give me some tips on how to stay organized and get the fast feedback to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I recommend is right after you hop off that Zoom, just take 5 to 10 minutes, jot down your notes, collect your thoughts, and then just send the feedback to wherever it needs to go, whether that's the candidate or a hiring manager, HR, whoever it needs to be. Get them that feedback as quickly as possible. If you're unable to do it directly after, because you have back-to-back interviews, things get really busy, back-to-back meetings, just block time on your calendar. We all use our calendars as much as possible, so just block that time out and then get everything squared away within 24 hours of interviewing that candidate. Again, it keeps them excited about the opportunity and also lessens the likelihood of losing them to another offer.
Great tips. So a couple more important things. Don't lie or mislead even a little bit during the interview. So truth and transparency matter. Job descriptions and how you speak about a role during the interview needs to be thought out, accurate, and realistic. Your resume needs to highlight your real skills and accomplishments. So the most common reasons for terminations and resignations are some flavor of the job wasn't what it was described to be, or the candidate did not have the skills that they said they had during the interview. So, Ken, how do you prep candidates properly for interviews?
Yeah, this is a great question. And if you're someone who wants tips on interviewing that's listening right now, this is where you're really going to want to tune in, right? Because these are all things that can help you not only with your next interview, but forever, right? This is what I do, eat, sleep, and breathe interviews. So this is how I prep everyone that I work with, right? Number one, research the company, right? Know the company values, moral, where they stand, right? What industry they're in, Look up any social media, right? Any recent news, anything you can use to quite literally, come to the interview and say, hey, I did my research. I saw this news. Here, I did it. I put in the work, right? Another thing is, research the interviewer, right? The LinkedIn profile, an About Me page on the career section, right? Really anything you can do to know more about the person you're interviewing with. And who knows, you could build a connection point and that could take 15 minutes out of the interview for them not to ask tough questions. No, I'm kidding. But it is very important to know that person, even connect with them on LinkedIn, right? Number three, have 2 or 3 specific examples with data. Now I say with data because I can say I played for the New York Knicks, but if I don't have the stats, it ain't true, right? So you want to bring data. All employers want to know is data. Okay, you can do this, but here's how I did it. Here's a campaign I set up. Here's what I reported on. Bring stats if you can, right? And then always, as I mentioned, follow up with questions. The last question in the interview should always be, what are the next steps if you're interested, right? Because if you don't do that, number one, the client, they may not know you're interested, right? The person you're interviewing with. And they also, it's also, the ball's in your court, right? So you want to put the ball in their court and prompt an action, right? And you may even learn next steps, who knows? So Bridge, those are just a few things that I do with every single person, and I try to stress each one of those 4 things for everyone that I work with to prep before the interview.
Great tips. Thanks, Ken.
No problem.
Liz, how do you properly prepare our clients and companies for interviews?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, the classic, make the most of your time, but also make it enjoyable. Make it so that way they remember you. Again, you're selling your company to them. Like, they are interviewing you as much as you are them. I cannot say that enough. And then, of course, remember to talk about why your company is an amazing place to work. Tell them why they want to work for you. Tell them why they would want to accept your offer over another offer. And then absolutely make sure to review, the candidate's resume and any other information that you have prior. Do your research just like you would expect them to do. And then also have your questions ready to go too. You can tailor your questions to that specific candidate based on their skill set, but also leave them open-ended so that way you can adjust based on how that candidate answers.
Liz, what advice can you give on coming up with those questions during the interview to make sure the candidate is a skill fit and a culture fit?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, make sure that your questions are relevant to the position. So if it's a technical position, make sure you're asking technical questions. Also, another thing that really can bring out what a candidate's skill set too is doing like case study or scenario-based questions. You'll really get inside of the head of the candidate, kind of figure out how they're thinking, how they would fit in with your team, and whether or not they're a fit that way.
Awesome, thanks. Ken, walk us through some easy ways to F up the interview.
All right, this is the most exciting part. I will be honest, this is the fun. Cool, so if you're looking for some ways to F up the interview, right, well, we got you covered here. Number one, don't prepare, right? Go into the interview with no preparation, don't know who you're interviewing, and this goes both ways, right? Roll into an interview, right out of bed, no research, right? Don't know anything, don't even know the job, right? So don't prepare, you'll be fine. Number two, don't show gratitude, it's weak anyways, right? Don't be thankful that the person spent some time to interview you for. This is your time. They're lucky to be in your presence, right? So no gratitude, that's overrated anyways. And number three, multitasking. It's been proven to work, right? So we all know it. Do it during the interview. As Liz mentioned, this is true story. Do the dishes. Pack your luggage for a trip. Hey, you need to prep dinner? Go do it. Do it during an interview. Exactly. Whatever you want to do. Yeah, you could even call somebody, cook dinner, and interview if you have that talent, right? Those are 3 things. If you want to F up the interview, you do those 3 things, you will. You will. So stay away from those. Liz?
Yeah. And if that wasn't enough, we have some more for you. So yeah, make them guess. No need to be specific. Don't set realistic expectations. After all, a little mystery keeps you interesting, especially when you're making a life-altering decision over there. Number 5, don't show any personality or excitement. Be a robot. Everyone loves a boring interview, so you don't want to be memorable. Why would you want them to know who you are? It's not like you want the job anyway. And then 6, feel totally free to show up late. Interview start times are kind of a suggestion after all.
Ken, what's the biggest mistake you've seen candidates make over salary?
Yeah, great question, and probably the question I get the most, right? 100% it's overpricing themselves and not knowing the current market, 100%.
So if I'm a candidate, how do I know how to price myself appropriately?
Great question. So there's a number of things, right? Number 1, I mean, there's sites everyone knows of, right? And a few that people aren't. I mean, obviously Fieldglass is huge. Google, Google is great, for like specific location salaries, right? But also could be a great tool to get some more information. But Fieldglass is great because, folks, employees put their information on there, right? So Fieldglass is really good. There's also one, Levels FYI is another big one for more technical roles, right? So check those out. And also, I mean, I don't have to say it, but HubSearch does have like a salary guide or something like that. No, we have our awesome salary guide. Bridge has the QR code here, and she'll speak on that. And you can download our salary guide at any time. The QR code will be at the end here, and that can give you an actual depiction of, okay, here's what I do, here's the ranges. Because, yeah, you want to make what you deserve, but you also don't want to overprice yourself for that role that you could have messed up on. It could have been the one for you, but you just wanted an extra 20 grand that, well, you probably weren't in the market for, right? So definitely know what you need for salary and know the market.
Awesome, thanks. Liz, what about you? From the client perspective, what's the biggest mistake they've made?
1000% it is low ball offers. If you don't know what a low ball offer is, it's when a candidate gives you their salary information up front of what their requirement would be to make a move, and then you decide, hey, I'm going to come in with a lower offer and hope it works.
So wait, why isn't that the better strategy, to come in with the lower offer and then negotiate?
Yeah, absolutely. So coming in with a lowball offer with the hopes to negotiate often backfires completely and ends up to declined offers. It leaves the candidate feeling undervalued, especially when they disclose that information to you up front. There's also the possibility, too, that the candidate receives an offer at the amount that they said was their requirement from another company, and then you lose out on that candidate because of that. So really, you want to put yourself in the best position to close that candidate right out of the gate and not play games with it.
Makes sense.
So yeah, so saying that, skip the salary games. So here's a great way to F up the interview process. So a HubSpot admin candidate tells you very clearly that they need to be at 110K to accept an offer. You hear that, you say, hey, I'm gonna offer them 95K because they might accept. Ultimately, if you can't get a person to be, or offer them what they said that they need to be, just move on to the next candidate.
Yeah. That's a great point, Liz. And on the and on the other side, right, the candidate side, again, this all feeds into knowing the worth, right, and using the tools, using what's out there, right. So an equally great way to F up the interview on the candidate side for yourself, right, is give the company a jack up the number, right. Give them a teaser number. Not be definitive on what you want, just knowing you're going to jack it up at the end, right. That's an easy way to, make someone very angry, right. And also another way to just make yourself, you could rule yourself out, right? You can overprice yourself, as I mentioned, right? So know the market and be transparent about the number that you need to accept, right? Honesty can go a long way, and it could also save each party a lot of time and stress, right? So just be transparent on both sides.
Liz, so when working with HubSearch, how long does it take candidates to get through the interview process, and how many interviews, and what does the interview panel look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So really an interview panel should consist of decision makers. So ideally you want people that can say yes or no to hiring that candidate or moving them forward in the process. You also want to include at least one individual that is going to be working with them directly. So that way, they know if it's a culture fit for them and you know if it is for you. Ultimately, it should take about 10 business days to get through the entire interview process. Keeping this time frame in mind really helps you avoid losing candidates to other offers, because we all know candidates are moving so quickly off the market. So to keep that timeline down, we really recommend a max of 3 interviews. It keeps things moving, keeps you closer to that 10 business days, and also helps avoid interview fatigue. We all know that hiring managers, you all get tired of doing so many interviews. It can be really exhausting. Candidates get tired too if you have 7 different interviews that they have to go through. Yeah, so again, another way to F this up. Go ahead and take forever. So here's a great way to F up the interview process. Have a 7-step interview process that unfolds over 5 weeks. And then after that, go ahead and take 2 more weeks to get them feedback. You will for sure lose your opportunity to hire people who that could have been game changers for you doing that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Liz. And on the candidate side, right? If you're a candidate, you want to F up the interview, well, take a first interview and then go on a 4-month vacation, right? Know the timeline, but still not meet with them, right? Again, it's a 2-way street. Understand that everyone has different timelines, right? But a great way to F it up is just not to be flexible, right? There is a happy medium for both parties, but having availability from 6 in the morning to 7 in the morning only on Monday mornings ain't gonna cut it, right? So just have that flexibility and find that happy medium, I would say.
So how to prepare the Hub Search way? Take the time. It's not rocket science, but so few people get this crucial step right. They don't take time to prepare. So spend the 20 to 30 minutes before the interview learning about the person you're about to interview or the company you are interviewing for and the person you're about to meet. Some tools we use to do this and tell our candidates to are LinkedIn, their company website, and any social media. And more interview prep and best practices, you can scan that code right there and it goes to our blog and it has some more information. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Cameron Collins, Hubolution, Sprocketeer, Rev Partners. Is it effing up the interview if you connect with the person you're interviewing with ahead of the interview? Or is that a good thing?
Yeah, I'll take this one. You should be doing that. You should 100% be doing that. At the very least, if things don't pan out, right, at least you made a good connection, right? And as long as you interview well, it may not be a fit, but you can at least have that professional connection, right? So I always encourage people to connect with who you're interviewing with. And it's also a nice little nudge to the person, like, oh, this person took a couple minutes to check me out, right? So all good things, it could all go a long way. Great question, though. So I wouldn't send a message unless it's a thank you, right? Which preferably would be done email, but I mean, it could go LinkedIn too. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, I would always connect. Just connect. Yep. Just do it. Again, it can only be a positive thing, right? It can only be a positive thing.
So my name is Austin Stillwell. I'm with Eternal Works. We do branding and web design. Didn't actually have a question. I was just on my way out, but
I thought you raised your hand. My bad. So can you sing a song for us? Or
I'll do a follow up on that. Just a follow up on that.
Yeah.
So you're saying to get ready for the interview ahead of time. You're saying it's better to not just follow them on LinkedIn, but send that full connection request.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's good knowledge to have, because I would think that might be kind of like jumping the gun a little bit, but okay.
No, and I could see why one would assume that, right? Because it's like, oh, I don't want to overstep. But as a candidate, you are looking for anything that can distinguish you between someone who has the same exact skill set, right? Because what I tell everyone, it sounds crazy, right? But you have to go into each interview like there's 6 other people with the same exact skill set. What can I do to put myself ahead of them, right? And that connection could be the reason you land the job, right? That could be the deciding factor, or a thank you note, right? Or having the right questions. So 100%. And good job with the question on the fly too.
That was my bad. Any other ones? Great. Name and who you're representing.
Hi, I'm Scott with Squad 4, so we're a rev ops and go-to-market for small, medium-sized like professional services and B2B tech, some med device companies. Sorry if I missed this because I stepped away, but do you have a Goldilocks zone for the right number? Not 7 over 2 weeks, but 3, 4? Like, what's the right level of interviews for most positions to identify culture and technical fit?
Yeah, so again, like we really recommend keeping it to 10 business days and kind of a max of 3 interviews. Again, it can kind of vary depending on the position. Like if it's a higher level position, you might need an extra round, but typically it's gonna stay like around 3 interviews, 10 business days. As long as you can keep it moving, like plan ahead, plan for that time to be able to keep those interviews moving, because again, like you will lose someone so quickly by taking your time. I've seen it happen so many times, unfortunately, and usually, clients are bummed when they lose that person that they really wanted. So timing is everything.
We got time for one more if there's one out there. All right, let's give it up for HubSearch, ladies and gentlemen. That was amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.